us proud. CanesWear crew, you hear the crowd. Hurricanes ain't backing down. Every play, every score, raising bets and raising roar. Rocking orange, green galore, all for one and one for four. We got FTSN, taking names, win it again. Podcast fam, till the end, tune in, now let's begin.
Hello, we're here. It's October 15th, Tuesday. We're getting a little bit of a late night start tonight, so it's happy hour here at the CanesWear podcast. So grab your favorite drink and join Brett and Brad. Mando will be joining us soon. And Brad, it's awesome. We're halfway through the season. I mean, which is scary because it seems like the season just started yesterday. It's one thing about football. You wait and you wait and you wait, and then you wait more. Then the season starts, and in a split second, it's over. So we're halfway through the season, hopefully like a third for us if we're going to make a really deep run into the playoffs. But right now, halfway through the regular season, we're 6-0. We're leading the ACC. We're ranked number 6 in the nation. And I don't know, some people tell me, I hate the bye, Brett. My son Garrett said, Dad, I hate the bye. I said, I love the bye. We're 6-0. How can you not love the bye? We got a chance to relax, take a deep breath. We're 6-0. So how can you not feel great if you're a Canes fan right now? So with that, my co-host Brad Tejeda, the awesome daily podcaster from the CanesWear podcast on FTSN every single day. And how you doing, Brad?
Brad, I couldn't be any more thankful, right, man? We got a great producer, Bobby, in the background. You as well with me. You know, you got the triple Bs, right? It's like Bane, Baron, and Barrow all together, right? When it's working on all cylinders, there's nobody that could beat us, right? So you gotta love the triple Bs, whether it's the Hurricanes on the field or us doing our thing off the field. But shout out to all the fans that are listening. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for us here on the FTSN Network, CanesWear Daily Podcast with Brett and Brad. But yeah, man, like you mentioned before, 6-0. We're one of the few teams left in the country that not only are undefeated, but there's a lot of things to be patting yourself on the back for this upcoming year that we've had this year, right? I mean, first and foremost, our offense, after having a bye, is still leading the nation in yards per game, right? So taking a week off and still having that kudos goes to show you of what this offense has been able to do throughout 6 weeks. And there's just been a lot of selective guys that we'll talk about later in the podcast that have really done their things. And there's a lot of selective guys that really still have a lot of potential to grow. And I think the greatest thing about this, to your point, Brett, of coming off this bye, being undefeated right now, which I think all college fans can agree, it's hard to win week in and week out. We've seen it with some of the big teams out in college football, and Miami is one of the few left that are out there that can say they are unbeaten, regardless who they play. But I think you also got to look at this, right, is we have yet to have a perfect game. Cam Ward has yet to be the Heisman Cam Ward. Has he had Heisman moments? Yes, absolutely. Has he put the backpack on his shoulders and carried this team to victory? Yes. But has he had the first quarter to fourth quarter, just from beginning to end, that A+ performance? No, he has not. Has our running game had that? No, they have not. Has our defense have? No, they have not. So it goes to show you that there is still so much left in the tank for this football team, which as fans like ourselves, you got to be excited for. And not only this season, the second half of the season, but this upcoming game against Louisville, where there will be a lot of Louisville players that were once playing high school football in South Florida that will have a lot of chip on their shoulders that we'll talk about as well.
No, absolutely. It's all great comments. This year in the national picture, you've got teams jockeying up and down. I don't think the ratings really matter, but you see teams with two. I mean, we're number 6. You see 2 teams with 1 loss ahead of us right now. I know they've played top teams. You see Georgia ahead of us. They just lost to Alabama. Alabama then lost to Vanderbilt, who's not even ranked. Then they almost lost and should have probably lost to South Carolina, but they've still got like Superman on their chest. So like Georgia lost to a team that almost lost 2 games. So I'm not so worried about the polls right now, but the Canes are 6-0. We're ranked 6. 6 is the magic number. And we play at double 6, 12 o'clock, high noon against Louisville. It's very exciting right now. And I like the fact that we did not play great games the last 2 games, because it takes a little steam out of the Cane fans, because we're 4-0. We're going to be undefeated. We'll beat anybody. We'll beat Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. We'll beat anybody. So now it's like, okay, you know what? This is a battle season. Nobody's dominating. Maybe Texas right now is dominating teams. But you know what? Oregon obviously just got by Ohio State. And obviously 2 great teams. We'll be privileged to play any of these teams in the playoffs. But the point is right now, we're right there with anybody. We've got that great offense. Our defense, while it wasn't perfect, but like you said, we have not played the perfect game. We have played great second halves. The second halves, we have out-adjusted everybody. Every single game, I mean, there was a chance, and we came back and did our business. And Virginia Tech, we came all the way back. I mean, the last game, obviously, against Cal, came back. Which is a great comeback. Even Florida, we stepped on the pedal. USF stepped on the pedal. I mean, that makes me so excited to see adjustments. It's been so many years since we went to halftime and out-adjusted the other team. I can't even remember the last time it happened.
Yeah, before I discuss, the topic of what you're bringing apart, I need all of our Cane fans that are listening and tuned in and liking and subscribing. Make sure you drop some comments in the chat, guys. Like Brett said on social media and at the beginning of the podcast, we are going to be picking a winner in the comments. Best comment out there of the live show will be getting a $25 gift card to CanesWear, the best stop shop for not only your CanesWear, Miami Hurricanes apparel, but all your Florida teams apparel, whether it's Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Miami Inter Miami, or your Miami Marlins as well. Make sure you drop a comment. We got a bunch of people live viewing and watching. That's a free gift card right in your hands right there. So make sure you drop that comment. But going back to your point, Brett, I think to your point, first 4 games of the season, right? You talk about the word dominating. We have dominated, the first 4 games. The last 2 games, not so much. You saw the defense really have to kind of tighten the belt in the fourth quarter, specifically, along with Cam Ward and the offense, really bring it on their shoulders in the second half, really do some work in between the 2 camaraderies. And, of course, Andy Borregales and company at special teams. Can't forget those boys as well. That's really what's helped us get over the hump these last 2 games. But we talk about the college football rankings of us being 6 and other programs like LSU, Ole Miss, Michigan that are still getting ranked at certain spots when they either have 2 losses or a team like LSU that moved up 5 spots from 13 to 8, where in my predicament, I think Miami at least deserved to move up 1 spot after this past week. But let's not get it twisted. We all know that this team, it gets hated on for a reason from a media standpoint, right? And it goes to show you that the past couple of weeks when we have gone against the grain, whether it was against South Florida, when the head coach went on a presser and said, hey, not only are we selling out the stadium, but we're going to open up the 3rd tier and get as many college fans as possible from South Florida to really make this that home environment after coming off of a big-time loss to Alabama. And even though it was a close game, we had all this momentum and mojo going towards us. Now we got a Miami team. This is going to be our Super Bowl. Well, guess what? Miami goes into Tampa after that second quarter of us trailing for the first time in college football season this year. We end up taking momentum and dominating that football game. Then you talk about 3 weeks ago against Virginia Tech, right? That's a first team in the ACC that we go against. You got first cousin, and Cam Ward and Kyron Drones. This is a team that had 20 out of 22 starters returning. Another Super Bowl type matchup for the University of Miami. And guess what? We prevail, whether it's the referees, the play calls, Cam Ward, have you not. We got the W, and that's all that matters. Then you go to 2 weeks ago, another Super Bowl moment. Cal didn't have a pretty season before playing Miami. Why is College Game Day all of a sudden going to California for the first time ever, right? You know why? It's because of this logo right here.
Exactly.
It's because this logo right here carries so much weight. And even after a bye, you saw whether it was on Sunday or Saturday or Friday or going to your son or nephew or cousin's high school football game, you know what was going all over the place? It was this right here. We trend and we carry weight all around the world. And when Miami starts to do well, that's when we're at our best. And we haven't even got to our best yet. And yet again, this is another Super Bowl matchup for the Louisville Cardinals, who yet again, I talked about it in my show yesterday on the CanesWear Daily podcast on FTSM. Make sure you go check it out. This is a team in Louisville that is about to get into their possible third ACC loss if they lose to Miami this weekend. If they lose this weekend, their season is done as far as ACC bounds, getting into the ACC conference championship. That is out the window. There's no way you're going to get that. Not to mention, you're playing, I believe, a Clemson and a Pittsburgh-ranked team currently at the moment ahead of you after this Miami game, right? So you're talking about two more opponents that after a Miami possible loss, your season's out the window. So they have a lot playing for them. Not to mention, they have a lot of local kids from South Florida, right? Whether it's Isaac Brown, Ja'Cory Brooks, Saquon Clark, linebacker for Louisville. There's about 5 to 7 guys out there that are from the South Florida area that are really going to have a chip on their shoulder to really play well against Miami. But then there's a couple other things, right? Teddy Bridgewater, South Florida native, Miami Northwestern guy, current Miami Northwestern head coach. He is getting his jersey retired this football game. Yes. Not only is he getting his jersey retired, Brett, but it is homecoming for Louisville. So it is Louisville homecoming. Teddy Bridgewater, South Florida native, is getting his jersey retired. And to top it all off, Coach Schnellenberger, we're playing for the boots, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. That's right.
Schnellenberger trophy at hand, Louisville versus Miami. So we got a trophy at hand, along with some of these other things that I'm bringing up. And this is a team like Brett, and to his son's point, I feel him on that, because this is a program that in the last 7 or 8 seasons has only won one bye. And that was during COVID year when we lost our first week coming off a bye against Clemson, which I was at during COVID year. And then we had another opportunity, I believe, against Virginia, that we ended up winning that bye week. So we had 2 bye week opportunities COVID year. We won 1 out of 2. But prior to that, we were 0-6. Not to mention, folks, Mario Cristobal was 6-0 or 7-0 at Oregon after the bye. What he's been at Miami? 0-2.
Oh, boy.
0-2 at Miami. And our last 2 games against North Carolina and Georgia Tech, who fans are very familiar with last year, both of those football games coming out after a bye, we lost by 3 points each time.
And we know we had that Georgia Tech game. I mean, we got the bad call. We start with, no matter what, we started off that game slow. I mean, there was we came in, we thought no defense could stop our offense. And then something happened and we lost that game. So, no, I agree with that, Brad. I will say something about the store, Brad, since you brought it up. We've just got I know you just got the Ward jerseys, right? One for yourself and one for your son. You got some new hats, and we just got in a whole line of 47 hats that nobody has. Awesome. Some 47 shirts. We got a bunch of other hats from Top of the World. So much stuff. Jeff literally has boxes everywhere in the store. That's the other reason I was thankful for the buy. I mean, we just have so much stuff coming in. Jeff said, what? Those guys that know Jeff out there at CanesWear, it's like he's whining a little bit to me. He's on there. And I said, Jeff, too bad we're not undefeated. Oh, we are undefeated. It's awesome. So we'll do our part, bring it in the merchandise. All we ask is Mario, Cam, X, and the rest of the guys to do their part, and let's just win. Because a lot of great stuff at the store, awesome items and everything like that. Really exciting. The Cam wore jerseys in all colors, and kids, women, we got it all. So that's exciting. And so I'm just pumped about the season right now. Like you said, it's after a bye. Everybody's afraid of that. This is Louisville. They just got by Virginia. And it looked like, they weren't going to win that game. And they just got by Virginia. But you know what? I think if we play our game, we will win our game. If we play the second half in both halves for us, we will dominate the game. The only thing that can stop the Canes in this game is the Canes. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been the mode of every year, right? I think the Canes have been the caution tape in front of themselves every single year. Thankfully, this year, Cam Ward and company have really helped themselves. And before we bring up some of these awesome Cane fans that are commenting, you brought up Xavier Restrepo. I just want to put on a side note here. Do I expect a 5'9", 5'10" slot wide receiver Colombian guy in Xavier Restrepo to win the Biletnikoff Award? No, I do not. Right. But give the young man some damn respect.
Exactly.
Linnikoff Award finalist list. There were 20 names that were put on that list today, Brett. And you know who was not on that list?
You're kidding. I did not see that today.
Xavier
He's not
Restrepo.
on there?
Xavier Restrepo is not on that list. Shout
Oh,
out
that's
to
ridiculous.
the Restrepo family. Anytime I go to a football game and I'm sitting in the family section, that family is doing everything they can, not only for the fan base, but
Absolutely.
for their ex to show
Fred
some love.
Biletnikoff. I'm old
But-
enough to remember Fred
man,
Biletnikoff.
that-
He was a
man,
small
he deserves
possession
it.
receiver.
He
That
deserves
makes
it,
no
man.
sense.
He deserves it.
Is that list
Absolutely deserves it. He was not even on the list, Brett.
Is that list final?
I hope it's not. I hope they can find some contingency plan or find a way to Photoshop him in there, because that is straight out disrespect.
That is disrespectful, completely.
Disrespectful.
Every time you watch TV, the games, all they're talking about, they are fawning over. Outside of Cam, they're fawning over X, and that's ridiculous. If he's not, we got to find somebody to talk to. Mario's got to have some clout.
Yep.
But that's ridiculous.
Well, let's bring up some of these comments. We got Jacoby Graggs saying, just finished watching the last year's game against Louisville. Man, Mark Fletcher had his best game as a freshman. It's funny you say that, Jacoby, because all year, and Brett would definitely attest to this, when we've been watching games, it seems like anytime Mark Fletcher gets the ball in his hands, he's having great opportunities and he's flourishing through those opportunities. And I think this is a big-time game for not only him, but this running game. I think this has been a broken record for both of us, Brett. Mm-hmm. But it seems like every week it's like this has to be the game where the running game starts to establish themselves. And unfortunately, against Cal 2 weeks ago, we started out early running the ball and we were doing great. But unfortunately, the big play opportunities from Cal really put us in a rut, and the turnovers early on to where we couldn't really run the ball because we were playing from behind. And when you really look at this Louisville football team, some of the weaknesses of our defense so far through 6 weeks plays in favor of what Louisville does on the offense side of the football. So that kind of worries me, but at the same time, we're coming off a bye. Let's see if we can kind of shake up things. Lance Guidry in his recent presser today kind of said, hey, we got a plan in place and that we believe in it. We think we're going to be able to execute it, and we're going to have a good day on defense. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said before, there's a lot of local guys that play for Louisville that are going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder. This is a team that relies on big play opportunities. They are, I believe, second in the nation in big plays behind Ole Miss, where Miami is like 108th in defense as far as allowing big plays. So that plays in favor of Louisville. But then when you look on the flip side, their defense is a lot of suspect guys, in my opinion, where I think Miami will be able to capitalize on offense as well. So this will probably be a high-scoring game if it goes well for Louisville on offense. But at the end of the day, we'll be able to get a full breakdown of this Louisville football team tomorrow on this network at 7 Eastern time with my guy, Kevin Wright of Card Chronicle. We'll be able to break down every position group on Louisville and Miami's offense and defense side of the ball. So I'm looking forward to that, Brett. But other than that, you got guys like Ja'Cory Brooks and Isaac Brown, who are two guys that Miami pinned at one point, whether through recruiting, high school, or in the transfer portal. And both of those guys seem to be dominant playmakers for Louisville this football season. You got a true freshman in Isaac Brown at running back that played at Homestead High School that not only has done well this season at 508 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground, but he has had back-to-back 100-yard rushing games, and he recently had 2 touchdowns on the ground against the win over Virginia. So he's a guy in particular that I'm looking for in this football game for Miami to really hone in on. And tackling fundamental-wise, we got to play in better shape, and hopefully coming out this bye, we can do that.
Now, Brad, Jacoby made a good point in respect to Fletcher, because I've been calling Fletcher, you've been calling Fletcher. He was averaging almost 10 yards a carry in the first half, but he got about 9 or 10 carries. Obviously, we've got a three-headed backfield right now. Obviously, the 2 main backs and then Lyle, right? Lyle's the 3rd back. So how do they determine who's going to carry the ball more? Do you go with the hot hand because obviously they got the 2 guys, starting. But if one guy is running hard and dominating, shouldn't he be the guy getting the ball the most, or do you still play them out?
Listen, if I knew the Mario and Dawson blueprint, right, that would be lovely. But just
Let's get him on the
watching
phone right now.
but just watching like fans like ourselves, right? I think honestly, what's happening is, especially early on in the season, what you saw was we relied on the 1-2 punch of Martinez and Fletcher, right? And then after that came Lyle and others. But what you saw early on in the season is our offense put up so many points very quickly to where by the time that 1-2 punch rotation was ready to get to that third rotation, there was no longer needed for that 1-2 punch. So then you started to rely on that 3 and 4 really the whole second half. And what you saw these last two games were that 3 and 4 guy have really been non-existent. And a lot of it has to do with, unfortunately, our defense giving up a lot of big plays early to where we're playing behind and we're not able to rely on the running game. So now your 1-2 punch not only becomes only the 1-2 where there isn't a 3 and 4, but your 1-2 isn't relied upon as much because you can't rely on the running game because you're playing from behind so much. And unfortunately, guys like Cam Ward, Xavier Shepo, Isaiah Horton, and company has really been able to bail us out at the end of games. I think this is kind of a reset mark, right? Similar to the Florida game at the beginning of the year where you kind of hit a reset button and it's like, hey, whatever happened the first half of the season, it's out the window. You're no longer 6-0 like we're talking about. You are 0-0. You're starting out a new season against a Louisville team that has a lot to play for, right? Like I mentioned before, have a lot of chip on their shoulders, a lot of guys ready to prove themselves against a Miami team they didn't get that opportunity for. And you got to go out there on the road and test yourself. This is going to be an 11 o'clock Eastern kickoff, even though it's 12 o'clock time. You got to remember it's an hour behind East Coast. So you're talking about another hour difference, very similar to the Cal game. But we do have a bye. But to reversing that point, like I mentioned before, this is not a program that has done well off of buys in history. But yet again, there's been a lot of things in history going back to the first game of the season against Florida that we haven't done well. And we have yet broken history and rewrote things this football season. So let's continue to do that, be behind our program, and show up when it matters. And I think this is a team that will it be a big victory, big time margin? Maybe not as expected. But I do think as long as we get this victory and get a W, I think people are going to continue to realize as you watch football in college, whether it's Miami or other programs, the hardest thing to do in college football is get the W every week. And as long as Miami continues to do that, I think we're in a good grace and spot.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I agree. We've got a lot of comments there, Brad. You got to Jacoby's comment, 305 Sports Now. Welcome to the program. Good to see you here. We got New King God.
New King God, yes. What can we expect of Brown and Rich back this year? I'll say this. I'm not going to touch much on injuries because as I know with the staff, they don't want to put anything out there, so I'm not going to do that. As far as Brown, just going to have to wait and see, folks. It's going to be probably a while for him. We'll see what happens with him. Rich, I'm assuming, are you talking about Richard on defense, or are you talking about Ryan Rodriguez? Because I believe those are the only two guys from the program currently that are out in Brown and Rodriguez. Other than that, everyone else seems to be pretty healthy for the most part. There is one other player that will probably be out the remainder of the season, but I am not going to release that name. Other than that, I think we're all in good shape. But as far as Brown, I wouldn't expect him back anytime soon. I'll let the staff and Mario let you guys know when that timetable is going to be back. But when you look at other programs in college football right now, you look at Florida, starting quarterback Graham Mertz out for the year. I believe Tennessee had a player that went down out for the year. There was about 4 or 5 other programs that had a guy go out for the year. I think Miami's in a really good spot. You talk about guys coming back off of injury. This is going to be a big-time matchup for a guy in Jalen Rivers, who is coming back from injury since the Florida game, I believe. And he's going to be having a big test against that Louisville defensive line. I expect that Louisville defensive line to be very hungry. They got one or two guys on that defense that have 20 plus career sacks, one guy alone that can really do some stuff for Louisville. So having a guy like Rivers back will be very interesting. But there have been some rumors, Brett, on the timeline in the last 24 hours. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I know a lot of Cane fans have seen this, as far as possibly a guy in McCoy being a little bit banged up to possibly not play this game. And if that happens, then you're starting to alternate that lineup to where do you have maybe Jalen Rivers and Francis Minoa as your left tackle and left guard, right? And then your center is Carpenter, and then that right side is, of course, going to be Cooper and someone else on that notion. So I want to see what happens with this O-line if McCoy is possibly out, but we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, I think when it comes down to is going to be to limit the big plays on defense. I think Cam Ward and company on offense is going to continue to do what they do best. But I think this is going to be a game for the defense to really capitalize. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts is the defense hopefully capitalized. The defense really shut down California outside of about 5 big plays. I mean, but those 5 big plays were big. It seemed like, obviously, the cutbacks, the little screens. I mean, they had our number in the first half, and they made those plays when they had to. I mean, if I'm sure the team, the coaches got on them, and they woke up pretty quickly. But hopefully, we don't experience that again. I did hear they had a team meeting, correct? Player-only meeting this week. And
yeah, it was the second or third one that they had all year. I know
really?
fans were the fans were a little surprised that they were having a team meeting in a bye week after being undefeated. Right, most teams don't really have those things, but this was the second or third time that they've had these player meetings.
Sure.
I think it just goes to show you that how honed in they are on this opportunity that they have in front of them. I think again, having a guy like Cam Ward, Mish Powell, on top of Ruben Bain and Kiko Mainoa and Xavier Restrepo and others that just understand the moment that's in front of them. They understand that this is a week in, week out basis. And you've heard in interviews today and the past few days that all of these players, all of these coaches, they understand not only have they not had that A+ performance like we've talked about, but they understand that it's very hard to just get a W in college football. And yes, they haven't had the best performance every single week, but the fact that they grind it out and find a way to get that grit and tenacity together and pull out a W, that is what they love the most. And they understand the task at hand and that they're very hungry and that they're not going to take any opponent lightly. And that's what you like to see from a preparation standpoint that I don't think our fans are used to.
No, I agree. And that's great that they are focusing so much. I mean, Mark Rick wishes we would have had that. I mean, I don't know if we had any, but you know, it was crazy. Even after we beat Florida State that time, we went to Virginia. It was obviously Manny Diaz as well. So who do you think it's Cam Ward? Who do you think calls the team meeting? Welcome to the show, Mando. Great to see you, buddy.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, we went from a team meeting to a fan meeting. We got our guy, Miami Mando, in the building with a dope shirt, as always.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing good. We're talking about everything Canes, talking about the bye week, obviously, talking about the team meeting. You can interject your thoughts.
I will say, yeah, I know some fans are freaked out about the bye week, but obviously this is a new team, new season, new staff. I think even Brad posted. I think it was Restrepo was playing golf or whatnot, and he was talking about the bye week and all that. They look focused now. Everybody's talking FSU next week. I get it, but I'm not lying to you. Before the season, this game right here was circled on my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
They beat us last year. Before we knew what either team was going to be like, this is a game that you thought at Louisville. That's a tricky game. They got South Florida kids. They recruit down here. That team, forget about the records. Forget about they're not ranked. They're going to be up for this game against us. It's a sold-out crowd. It's only about a 3 or 4 point spread. This is a tough, big game this Saturday. So forget about next week. Got to be totally focused and locked in because it's going to be a fight. That's for sure.
1 week in, 1 week out. Like we've said before, man, this team is really focused on the preparation of the opponent ahead, not Boros the overall season at task, right? And when you talk about this Louisville team, like I mentioned before, Teddy Bridgewater's jersey retired. That you got the Schellenberger Boots trophy at hand. You got the homecoming game for Louisville, right? And they just came off a tough matchup against Virginia that, was a tough game for them as well. So this is a team in Miami that had a lot of preparation, a lot of time at hand. And like I said before, the bye week doesn't necessarily go in the favor of Miami. But to Mando's point, this whole football season, there's been a lot of things going against Miami. It seems like the last 2-3 weeks, like I mentioned before, every team we play, this is their Super Bowl, right? So this is another Super Bowl opportunity for Louisville. You got a sellout crowd. This is possibly the make or break of even getting in the ACC contention of going to that championship. This will eliminate them. So there's a lot of task at hand. And with this Miami team, I think people need to also realize this. We talk about the college football ranking being ranked number 6, how it means to Miami. But the first goal before college playoffs is obviously getting to the ACC championship and winning the ACC. And people got to realize this. Right now, it's a three-tie race between us, Clemson, and SMU. And when you look at the schedules of Clemson and SMU, they got a lot of favorable matchups, just like Miami, to where they could probably win out. So if this ends up being a win-out program, this will favor Miami. But as big as this is an opportunity for Louisville, I want people to realize this. SMU has already beat Louisville. Okay. And Clemson still has to play Louisville. If Louisville finds a way to beat Miami and SMU wins out, and we end up still winning out, and by God, SMU loses a conference game, we're still tied in conference. And guess who it goes to, folks? It goes to SMU, because they played an opponent similar to Miami, and they got the victory, and we didn't. So you guys need to realize that this game is just as important for Miami as it is for Louisville. So
absolutely.
As much as it is a Super Bowl moment for Louisville, this is another big-time moment for Miami. And I think this is another game for Miami to rewrite history this season, like we've been doing each and every week. And I like where we stand, guys. And I think, all in all, the defense is going to really be what wins us this game this weekend.
Yeah, good point on the homecoming for Louisville. Honestly, until you said that right now, I wasn't 100% aware of that. So that's even more motivation for them. And Guidry made a comment, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that defense is going to be ready. It's all on them. I saw Louisville against Georgia Tech. Louisville's secondary is very beatable. Obviously, if you're Cam Ward right now, he can beat anybody. But Georgia Tech's, that's another team. We got Georgia Tech later this year. Georgia Tech's offense isn't a joke. That's going to be another tough game. So you better take advantage.
There's 7 teams with one loss or less. Even Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's undefeated and 6-0 for the season. So there's 4 undefeated teams and 3 teams with 1 loss. I mean, anyone that thinks that it's just going to be real easy, we're going to walk into the ACC championship. I mean, there's some decent teams, and I know they say the SEC is so great, but we don't know, because every conference is playing each other. So this could be we got to win every single game. That is for sure. And we can take Louisville out right now. Like you said, Brad, they've already got, they have 2 losses?
Yeah, they got 2 ACC losses. Yeah.
So if they lose this one 3, we can take them out. And you're right. Clemson has to play. Clemson, I think, is playing Pittsburgh. I think SMU is playing Pittsburgh. And I think Clemson and SMU play, right?
So Clemson's playing Pittsburgh. SMU is playing Pittsburgh as well. Other than that, I don't believe they have another game in common.
They play each other, though, right?
No, they do not.
They do not play each other. Okay, so all right. So in Georgia Tech, so they play Pittsburgh. So we just got to win every game. You know what?
Yeah.
You can't. As Canes fans, we know we're playing. We say we got to win. We lose. Wait, there's a chance that if somebody beats somebody and the other team beats the other one. I used to go to highlight a long time ago. I don't know if you were at highlight, Mando, Brad. No. Highlight, and it's like, okay, can you win? Yeah, I can win. If the 3 beats the 4, then the 4 wins. Then the 3 wins again. The loses to the 5. The 5 wins twice. Goes to the 8. The 8 wins twice. Then the 7 wins. The 4 wins, and I'm in a 3-team playoff.
It sounds like Brett may have wagered on highlight. What do you think, Brett?
I agree. New King God brought up a good question, right? Where do y'all rank Miami currently? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care where we are now. I don't care where we are in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Until we get to the ACC championship and we win the ACC championship, I don't believe we are a top 4 team. I don't care what happens on the field, what happens to other opponents. I think me personally, as a Miami Hurricane fan, until we accomplish our first goal that we have yet to accomplish in ACC by getting that trophy in Charlotte, until we do that, I don't believe we're a top 4 team. If you want to move us up one more spot to number 5 for giggles, go ahead and do that. But at the end of the day, we all know you got to be one of those top 4 teams. And we have, in the past, 2017, we were ranked number 2 in the nation at one point. When we had our guy Malik Rozier at quarterback, we had College Game Day, back-to-back weekends, and we saw what happened, how that season happened. So I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves, but I do know with the talent we have ahead of us and no injuries, thankfully, let's thank goodness for that, because there are a lot of other programs that have had some guys banged up. I think we're in a good spot right now, and as long as we continue to win, that's really the task at hand. The rankings will set themselves up.
Correct. There's going to be attrition. Teams are going to lose. Ohio State, Penn State, I still think they play each other. Ohio State, they're going to play Michigan. I mean, they're all going to play each other. I don't know if Oregon plays Penn State this year or Michigan, but the bottom line, it's how we do. Because it's hard to say we're top 4 when we really haven't played anybody. Ohio State hadn't played anybody either until they just lost to Oregon, and they're still ranked ahead of us. But it's hard to say we're top 4. That doesn't matter. If those teams all lose and we're still winning and we get to 1, great. But are we the best team in the country because we're number 1? Possibly not. It's going to be winning, winning, winning.
Well, Mario keeps saying it's playoff football every week. He keeps saying it every week.
He's taking this seriously. But a lot of Canes fans are like, I'd hear all the time in the store, all we got to do is beat FSU and I'll be happy camper. You know what? Right now, we can't look ahead. And I don't think they're looking ahead at Florida State right now. I don't think they're looking ahead right now.
No, the team, no. The fans might be, but not the team. The team's not looking ahead.
And listen, people got to remember, Florida State, how they're looking at this season is kind of on the flip side of Miami last season, right? We weren't really playing for much once we played Florida State last year, right? Our season was a little bit in a debacle. We had a backup quarterback, true freshman, and Emory Williams, going in at Tallahassee in the noise, in the crowd. And he almost went to the wire of winning that football game with a banged-up Miami Hurricanes team against a Florida State team that was nearly almost dominant all football season without their quarterback getting injured at the end of the year. And we saw how quick that game got to the wire to where Miami almost made that a real deal football game, ended up getting that W. So even though Florida State is having a bad year, you got to remember, this is a rivalry game. All that goes out the window. And they're kind of on the same end as what we were last year. So they're going to go into Hard Rock with a chip on their shoulder trying to knock off, the alpha dog in Miami, if that happens, if we're still undefeated. But all in all, I think New King God brought up another question I want to ask you guys both. We saw in the first half of the season, there were some easy choices on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. That were some guys that really set the stage for this program and really made a way for themselves and helping us get the W's in the first half of the year. Going into the second half of the year, who are some guys that you are looking to step up? Me in particular, I think the secondary as a whole, whether it's Mish Powell, Jaden Harris and company, even Daryl Porter, I would like to see him maybe move to the outside at times, because I think at the slot he's starting to get a little bit abused when they start to spread guys out. What is y'all thoughts on some guys that you're looking to improve?
Actually, I'm not even making it up. I was literally going to say secondary as a whole, because as we've seen, you took it out of my mouth. As we seen the last 2 games, especially against Cal, and we got down big, teams they know what we got up front, so get rid of the ball quick, and they're attacking the linebackers in the secondary, and don't think that other teams aren't watching that. So I'm sure Guidry's gotten tightened up. I think the bye week will do us some good. Now, it's going to be a road venue this week, and Louisville's a fairly good offense, so we'll know what this defense is this week. I know we struggled against VT. I was at the game. VT has a mobile quarterback. I think he was a big factor there. Against Cal, that was a surprise. I didn't expect that many points on the board. So this, I think, the secondary, to me, I fully agree. The secondary as a whole, all eyes on them. Because you're asking, Cam Ward's been a Heisman candidate. He's been fantastic, amazing. But you're asking a lot every single week on your offense to put up 30, 40. You saw Ole Miss. I watched the whole – people were watching Oregon and Ohio State. I was flipping back and forth, Ole Miss, LSU. Ole Miss is better. They made a ton of silly mistakes on offense, and they lost the game. They shouldn't have lost that game against LSU because I was watching the whole thing. Ole Miss's offense is nasty, and they put up 500 yards a game, and they lost. They've already not lost twice. So they're, all intents and purposes, they're out. So,
yeah, and Mondo, you talk about how nasty Ole Miss's offense. I made this point earlier that Ole Miss is number 1 in the country in big play opportunities on offense.
Yes.
You know who number 2 is?
the hat you're wearing, the U?
No. It's actually the team that we're playing this weekend, Louisville Cardinals.
That's whoa! I didn't know.
Here's what I got, guys. I got 44.
That.
44 is the key for me. Okay, a 4 on offense and 4 on defense. Now, 4 on defense, he hasn't played much. He played the game against Cal, and he obviously played, the first snap, his first series against Florida. He was considered our best defensive player last year, probably our best defensive player coming in. He hadn't seen much action. If we can get Ruben Bain 2.0 from last year, and we can get Ruben Bain to be that this year, just that alone. But if he becomes even better in his sophomore year, he's going to dominate with the amount of guys he has around him. Because last year he was on an island by himself pretty much, right? So if he can become, our defense is going to be that much better. And 4 on offense. I just took a quick glance. Mark Fletcher, played 6 games. He's got 37 rushes. That's just barely 6 rushes a game. All right. For 223 yards. All right. He's got 6 yards per carry, and he's got 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 6 yards a carry, and he's carrying the ball 6 times a game. I understand we have a lot of weapons, but he needs to get the ball more. And not just because we carry his jerseys, not just because his family's in the store all the time. But seriously.
Ulterior motive.
I thought when Mark came here, I said, he's got that Alabama running backs, that type of running backs that they have in the NFL. I mean, the Derrick Henrys that run people over. I mean, the other kid at Pittsburgh had a great game this week. So that's the type of back he is. They need to get him the ball. And like Jacoby said, the game that, he had his best game against Louisville. Last year against Virginia, I think in overtime, they got him the screen pass, and he just went and they got to get him the ball the outside. I mean, he's got speed that nobody's tackling him one-on-one. Pitch the ball to him. Let's do some sweeps to him. No, every play can't be an off-tackle run. I don't know who's calling that, but there's got to be other plays. Cam Ward can pitch a ball. Cam Ward can do the run-pass option. They don't just have receivers coming around then. They can have any of these backs, these fast backs, and Fletcher. Nobody's tackling him one-on-one. And in that game against Louisville,
Fletcher looked good against Cal. I mean, Fletcher.
He looked great. He had like 10 yards. I mean,
out to the eye test, if you looked at the starter and him, Fletcher looked good last week against
Fletcher looked like Bryce Hall last night in the first half.
Yeah,
every time he got the ball, he was toting.
I needed him for a touchdown for a big parlay, as Mando knows, but that's another story. Okay?
I don't know what you're talking about.
A huge parlay. I mean, I rarely root for the Jets, but I wouldn't have minded seeing beating Buffalo last night. But that's another story. But yeah, Fletcher looks like that. So that's the question. We have 3 backs, okay?
Right.
I mean, Fletcher should not be getting a ball 6 times a game. I'm sorry.
I just think also it's just, remember, it's a lot of, and that's what in the beginning of the season, the one guy that I knew that would get consistent touches and targets would be Restrepo. Beyond that, there's a lot of mouths to feed. You got the star tight end, which if you put him on a – so the kid from Penn State against USC, the kid had about 17 catches. Mm-hmm. If you put our tight end like somewhere like a team that goes to the tight end a lot, our tight end gets about 2 grabs a game because there's so many mouths to feed. You got Horton, Restrepo, the running back, Ward can run. It's just a lot. There's a lot of star players. There's a lot. It's not easy to give everybody 15.
Doesn't Alabama and Georgia have the same problems? I mean, I'm not comparing us to Alabama and Georgia. Every one of these teams has star athletes.
I'm not going to lie. I have to pinch myself looking at the rankings and seeing us ahead of Alabama, like looking at us at 1, 2, and 3 in the yardage and offense. I never thought I'd see the day.
I know.
This is brilliant. It's brilliant. But
smash that like button. Jacoby's got it. Smash that like button.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this game because this game's going to tell me a lot. I'm not lying to you guys. I've had this game circled for months before the season. This is a big one.
It's crazy, and it's crazy, right? Because that cliche and that quote that you just said alone, Mando, like this game will tell a lot. I feel like we've been saying that the last 2-3 weeks of this football program.
Every game
will tell a lot, right? Like
exactly. And we showed a lot by coming back in both those games.
And guess what? And guess what? We win against Louisville this weekend. We're gonna come back the next weekend and say the same thing.
Well,
This game
that's a crap game.
Well,
exactly.
next week is going to be live regardless. You're coming down, right, Brad?
I will not. No, I won't.
Oh, okay. So next week's going to be crazy, but I'm not looking. I don't care if others might be. I'm telling you, this game Saturday is not going to be easy. This is going to be a fight on Saturday against that team.
You're right. So we're playing. So you're saying it's not 12 o'clock Eastern. It's 11 o'clock Eastern, Brad. I thought it was 12 o'clock Eastern.
No, it's 11 o'clock.
No. The game's at 12.
Correct. 12 Louisville.
I thought it was 12 here.
No. It's 12 Eastern time.
I thought we were playing 11 Eastern.
You know what?
Let me check.
Let's pause for a station break. Hold on a second.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that 12 their time is 11 Eastern time.
No, they're in Kentucky. I think they're an hour behind, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
I think it's 12 o'clock Eastern, the game.
Let me see. 1 second. Yeah, it's 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock our time.
Our time, okay.
Yeah, so it's 12 o'clock.
Either way,
yeah.
And FSU is 7 o'clock our time, obviously, which we were lucky to have that. So night game.
And guess what? That was the last opportunity to have the blackout jerseys, and it seems like we're going to have an orange out for that homecoming game against Florida State.
They're definitely doing orange game.
Yeah, yet again, Mario is saying, screw the alternate uniforms. We're not going to wear them. And
he's not into that. He's not into that.
Well, no, he didn't wear it that other year, but he had to wear it under contract. But after Florida State, we have who? Which games do we have? We don't want to wear that on the road. So we don't want to wear the Syracuse Carrier.
No.
I think that's the last opportunity to wear the black.
Well, the other games do we already have the times of the other games?
No.
But I don't think any of them are going to be.
Duke at home. Duke is playing pretty well. We could have Duke at night. The matchup Manny against Mario.
That's the week after FSU. That's a good game.
Yeah,
back-to-back night games will be interesting.
We played them on Halloween night, and then we played them a couple of years ago at night. And then who else do we have at home?
November 23rd, we play Wake Forest. But I know a game that's going to be big is at Georgia Tech. GT.
That's Georgia Tech. I'm hoping for a cold weather game because we got some good cold weather gear just in, including the starter jacket. They don't call it the CanesWear podcast for nothing.
As he puffs out his shirt there, as he says.
Exactly. So that just so we got to remember that. No, so it's going to be this game like every game. When you're trying to go undefeated, like you said, Mando, this game is circled on your calendar. This is so important. It's after a bye, which obviously had to come into your head. And like Brad said, we've changed a lot. But when you look at our past, is it our past of the last few years, or is this team going to be the past of the teams that were actually championship quality? I'm not saying we're going to be champions, but this is a year that we have an opportunity. We have a guy that could be the Heisman Trophy candidate, which we've only had 2 Heisman trophies in the history of the UM football.
Yeah, and you're a top 3, top 4 offense, and like Brad made great points bringing up SMU and all that. You're in the thick of a conference title race right now.
Yes, this is important.
So this is beyond important. This is big.
And listen, people gotta realize too, some of these players that we're talking about, like the fact that we're just throwing out the Cam Wards of the world and Xavier Strepos and some of these guys like nonchalantly, we're in a good place to where most programs aren't able to just throw out these names and just be able to be thankful of these opportunities that we have ahead of us. I think us as Cane fans don't even realize that, right? Like this guy in Cam Ward at quarterback may just be the best quarterback to ever lace up in a Miami Hurricanes uniform when it's all said and done. Not only stats-wise, but just athletically and what he brings to the table. This is a guy that Miami fans are just not used to having. And the fact that we only have him for 1 year, you guys got to ride the wave. Jump on the carpet, feel like Aladdin. I don't care what you do. You guys need to get into the building and get yourself some Cam Ward jerseys at all costs. Because this is the year that has to happen, right? And I think what you also got to see is, look at the Kevin Clark. Shout out to our guy, Kevin Clark, who's on ESPN all the time as well. He had a great interview with Mario Cristobal. Just some of the hoops that a guy like Mario has to jump into to get a guy like Francis Manoa to join the program and others, right? You talked about what he did to get a guy like Penei Sewell at Oregon. He literally had his graduate assistant coach go into a Oregon Duck costume uniform and fly across the country and dress up as a mascot and take a picture with a 5-star offensive lineman just to get closer to the guy, to continue to recruit him. And as he knew that was maybe a borderline violation, which now today is, the fact that he does something like that goes to show you that the hoops that someone like Mario Cristobal jumps through to understand that you have to get these type of caliber guys to get together to join a team to see what we are seeing currently at this football program. That is what it takes to get a Nick Saban type of program together, and having a guy like Mario that understands that, has seen it firsthand. That's what you love to see. And finally, folks, we're starting to see it firsthand. And this is just the beginning. As great as it seems now, we got to continue to ride this wave, continue to get W's. And as long as this season goes well, we haven't even touched on recruiting, but recruiting is going to be a breeze. You might as well be you might as well be at Bahama the way this is breezing.
It's all about winning now, because there's the Miami can do anything special, then it's like, why go to Oregon? We can go to Miami. Why go? Obviously, money is going to be a determining factor for all these players. All right. But you know what? We need to put ourselves in with, like Jeremiah Smith went to Ohio State this year. Can you imagine if he was in Miami, like he was going to come to Miami? Can you imagine Cam throwing to that 6'4" big body? Not that we don't have good receivers now, but that's just another weapon. I mean, if we can get those kind of guys, that's what we need. We need those kind of guys that are game changers, but we're going to lose some players. But I'm confident in Mario's recruiting. We just got to come on strong. I mean, before the season, Mando, what would have been a good record for you before the season?
Oh, I know people always go crazy with the double digits, but I was honestly 8 or 9, because honestly, I didn't think I knew about Cam Ward. I watched late night games, Washington State, but me being one of the biggest Canes fans there is, would I have projected 580 yards a game and 40? I'd be crazy, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, no. So 8, 9, 9 for sure. I was telling everybody 9, I'd be ecstatic. So that's where I was at. I know some people were saying the usual double digit. You hear that from everybody, 10, 11. Like, I was like, whoa, we're not that well-rounded yet. Like, slow down.
The way we showed last year, when we slowed. What do you think, Brad?
And Brett, to your point, you just brought up NIL and transfer portal, right? I think what you guys also got to understand, Cane fans, is Mario understands that the gravity and the pull of some of these guys that are on the roster, like I said before, throughout a football season, there are going to be other programs that are going to constantly contact some of these guys that they see from bird's eye view that aren't necessarily getting the starting snaps, right? Or aren't getting the number 1 reps. I'll give you a prime example. Samson Okinola, right? This is a 5-star offensive lineman that has barely played football this year. Well, guess what? When you see a guy like Markel Bell that maybe didn't necessarily have to play this year, probably could have sat. Maybe Jalen Rivers was good enough to play all year, right? But maybe Mario understood the task at hand, and getting a guy like Markel Bell the reps needed to not only prove to himself at Markel Bell that he can have the opportunity at a D1 program like Miami, but to show other programs and a guy like Sampson that you still have the opportunity at hand. This is what you got to realize, folks. After this year, Jalen Rivers is gone. Zach Carpenter is gone. You know what's going to happen to those spots? Where's Sampson going to be? Where's McCoy going to be? Where's Bell going to be? Well, guess what? 2 out of 3 of those names, folks, have already started this year. So these NIL negotiations that are happening throughout the year, and tampering and throwing maybe the extra $10,000 to $20,000 at the offensive lineman to possibly start at a program that is going to be nowhere near where Miami trajectory-wise is going to be, they're going to say no. You know why? Not only because they believe in Mario Cristobal and what he's doing, but they're already getting the opportunity and the starting snaps at a Miami program. So you got to give kudos to the staff, understanding the realm and the development program of what it takes to work with this NIL and transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, I sat in the crowd, and this is going to be redemption. I'm not going to skip this week, but next week, I sat in that crowd a couple of years ago when FSU literally smashed us to smithereens at Hard Rock. And, of course, instant gratification fans are like, oh, what's going on, Mario, this and that. This is being built from the ground up. Like you just alluded to it right now. What they're building on the offensive and defensive line is just insane. I mean, it really, really is the depth that they're building, which they hadn't had for years around here. You know, he alluded to, he threw a little jab at the former admin on game day. He was like, yeah, we pretty much started from the bottom. That's where we were at. He's built it. So even next year and the year after, it's this is now, everybody always alludes to is the U back. No, my thing was getting back to being a perennial power, our top 10 ranked team in the conversation. They're there right now every week. Good or bad. Oh, they should have lost 2 games. Well, you know what?
Yeah, everybody's talking. Our ratings are great right now. Our ratings are great. I mean, if Miami has a great season, the ACC better figure out a way to get Notre Dame into the building and say, we need to redraw up the contract with ESPN. I know ESPN has that contract. They got to say, listen, or our league is going to disband. They've got to get Notre Dame, and they say Miami's back with our ratings if we have a great season, and they got to figure out a way how to retain this league. I'd rather us stay in the ACC than go to the SEC or the Big Ten. You know, just keeping these teams together would be a great thing.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame makes a boatload from NBC and their TV.
Yeah, but if they
if
they can go ahead and figure out a way to do it, these other teams, these other conferences are such a big advantage. Somebody asked, I think it was Nee King asked about can 2 ACC teams make the playoffs? My opinion is if they go undefeated into the let's say Clemson and Miami, and maybe Clemson wins. Maybe that's how the other teams do, because there's going to be so many teams that are playing each other that are beating each other. I mean, Ohio State, like I said, still has a couple of tough games. I mean, Penn State's got a couple of tough games. So those are 2 teams ahead of us.
It's going to
Georgia,
be interesting.
If they lose one more game, that's going to be 2 losses for them. Alabama as well.
This is going to be more in the voters' hands, not necessarily the fans' hands. That's what you got to understand. And unfortunately, they're going to favor 4 to 5 SEC teams over 2 ACC teams. You're already seeing it with the polls, right? You got 2-loss Ole Miss team still ranked. You got a 2-loss Michigan team still ranked.
Yeah, but when they go to 3 losses, if they go to 3 losses, it'll change. I think a 1-loss ACC team gets in over a 3-loss SEC team. Will the 2-loss ACC team get in over a 3-loss SEC team? There's a lot of football to go yet.
Yeah, Ole Miss has a lot of work to do because they got 2 right now. But remember, it's not 5 or 6; it's 12. So you can be 12. So now, Georgia's interesting. I mean, but if they lose this week at Texas, is there shame in losing at the number 1 ranked team in America?
No, but if they have 2 losses, I agree. But if they have 2 losses. And they played, and there's been a couple of games. They were tight games at the end. Aren't there 2 games that went down to the end of the game for Georgia?
They'll still be in the top 12. I guarantee Georgia just by a lot of these voters go by name a lot. Also, Georgia's been a perennial power for the last 4, 5, 10 years. So they can lose this week against Texas, and I would be literally floored if they're not top 12. I'd be shocked if they're unless they get smoked. You know?
Going back to is the U is back, right? I think people got to understand this. There's 3 stages to when the U is back, right? It's are we trending? Do we hold weight? And then that's when the U is back. When you get all 3 phases, just like the game of football, when you got your offense, defense, and special teams humming, that is when the U is back. And unfortunately, we're not there yet. But are we trending?
Yes,
we're trending.
Totally trending.
Right? You're seeing that. That everywhere.
Is the U holding weight right now? It's starting to hold some weight. It's a paperclip weight right now. We got to get to the cup with some liquor in it to hold the paper down with some windy cities. That's when we start to hold weight. We're not there yet, and then that is when we get to the U as being back, right? But at the end of the day, we're getting there, and I think this team, the staff, the players, they all understand that we're not there yet as well. And when you hear it in the press conference, there's a lot of meat left on the bone for this program. And the fact that they understand that goes to show that this staff and this program and this team is very locked into what's ahead of them.
I don't usually drink this early in the week, but after seeing you guys with a couple of adult beverages, I'm going to go to that kitchen right there in a few. And
there you go. I know. So Brad was out before. Brad was out before this. He started early.
So Brad, I heard.
That's why I wasn't going to drink tonight. I said, wait, there's a show. I have to.
I heard about the 8:45 start time. I was like, oh, producer Brad here said, I can call the shots, start the show when I want to start it.
Exactly. He said, oh, Brad gives me, I may not be able to make the show. I said, you are the show. You are the show. You know,
Without you, we're done.
like family ties.
I had to call
Michael J.
Omaha.
Fox,
I had to
you know, he's
call
the star of
Omaha.
the show.
Omaha.
Omaha.
Exactly. So
Brad, that was
I
actually a good
actually-
stat
I
by
actually
you
forgot
as
my
far
point.
as the. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Brad. I'm sorry.
No, I forgot my point. Go on.
No, you got to stop drinking. So you mentioned that Louisville's number 2 in big plays. Is that what you had mentioned earlier?
Yeah. So big plays over 40 yards. They are number 2 in the country behind. Ole
Wow.
Miss.
Wow, in California got a few. Cal got a few over 40-yard plays.
So that tells, and that kid from Miami Columbus was not afraid to go deep. So the book is open on what. So if you're telling me that, expect shots early and often. They're not going to be shy.
Here's the thing, right? When you watch Louisville's offense, they play in the favor of the deficits of our defense so far through the first half. So if they even wanted to watch the tape, which obviously they do, game planning for this game, the things that play in their offensive favor is already glaring from a defense point of view. So then going into Lance Guidry's mind, your first thought is to every bad thing you see on tape, that's what we need to correct on, right? But just like Cal and just like South Florida in the first half, South Florida saw against our defense, no one's gone up tempo. Why is that? Let's see what happens. They start to go up tempo, and you start to see us drag a little bit. Second half, we get adjusted to it. We get back to ourselves. Boom. Virginia Tech game. They throw a little up tempo. We react to it very quickly. Then they start throw some wrenches in the face. You go to the Cal game. You talk to Cal team. You talk to Cal media. There were 4 to 5 plays. Going back to Brett's point, 5 to 6 big plays that really made Cal get in that football game. You talk to media, fans of Cal, there were 4 to 5 plays that football game alone where they looked at that play and said, where's that been at all year? That goes to show you that people are taking the magic out of the hat and taking out all the stops against this Miami team because, again, like I said before, this is our Super Bowl. So you know what Louisville's going to do? They're going to look at our defense and they're going to say, you know what? They already know that our strengths is their weakness, and they're already going to game plan for that. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to already create 2 to 3, 4 plays that are going to capitalize off of what they think is going to happen. So those are going to be the plays. Going back to my point of big plays, 40 yards or more, Louisville being number 2 in the nation, those are going to be the plays that Miami's going to have to hone in on so they contain.
We need to make them. The big plays are killers, so we just got to stop them. I knew King said just now that he doesn't see that happening, and I agree. I just think we have to contain the quarterback. Is this a running quarterback? I don't know much about him. Is he this? Okay, so that's perfect. So,
it's not perfect because I'm gonna tell you this. There's 2 things. There's a lot of media out there, Canes media as well, that have been in contention to this. This will be the best offensive-minded play calling team we have faced all year, and probably will face all year. And the Braun brothers, not only the head coach but the OC are both related, so they work hand in hand. And then the quarterback is probably going to be the best quarterback we face as far as a passing quarterback that will be able to test the secondary, which we've been worried about all year. So those are 2 things you're going to have to worry about, along with the game breakers of Louisville that will really be able to take a top off of a defense, which they've already shown before, and to put it on your shoulders on top of that, these game breakers that we're talking about are South Florida guys.
South Florida kids. There you go.
Yeah. We need to run the ball. We need to run the ball because the only way we're going to be a championship type team is we have to have the run. If we can get the run going, our pass opens up. And that happened against Virginia Tech a little bit too. We started running the ball. We need to pound the ball. And if we can run the ball at the beginning of the game, as good as our offense is, if you become one-dimensional, it's very difficult to win the big games.
It's all about game flow, like Brad's mentioned, alluding to the 40-yard plays. But if we get up 10-0, 13-0, now they're in 3rd and long. You unleash that 6-7 man rotation up front. So now, just like the Cal game, the reverse, they got up big. It's just it's game flow. That'll dictate a lot of what's going to happen, obviously.
Guys, one thing before we go over our scores, there was something that happened I read about today in the Ohio State-Oregon game. Did everybody see that game? It was a great game. And their quarterback, who, by the way, was the other quarterback outside of Cam, the top 2 quarterbacks, so Howard. Him. But what happened, you remember he went ahead, slid down, and the time was out. But the play before that, did you guys read about that?
Well, honestly, what I was watching Ole Miss LSU, but I caught the last couple minutes of this game. Mm-hmm. What lost the game, unfortunately, was the Jeremiah Smith OPI. That's what lost the game because they were in field goal range. Mm-hmm. He pushed off, it put him back near the 50, and that's what screwed up everything.
But that play's being investigated.
So what I've learned about that situation was this: there was a play, I believe, right before that caused a penalty or a runoff of somehow.
Correct.
And what apparently has happened was the NFL has already made changes on their end to dictate to where that. So no, the NFL has already made changes the year prior.
I haven't heard of this.
For a situation that happened just like this, to where that 10 or 20-second runoff that would have helped Ohio State in their favor to have more time would have necessarily happened for Ohio State if the college football rules would have been inconsistent of what the NFL rules are.
I thought I heard it like this, Brad. There were 12 seconds to go on the play before. They put in 12 guys. It could have been intentional, an extra defensive back. So they ran the play. And they ran the play, and it ran down to 6 seconds, the clock. So they said it stays at 6 seconds, even though that play didn't count. So any team can put 12 minutes.
Oh, I know which play you're talking about. Okay.
And then the play will run as long as you stop them, of course.
Yeah.
And they did that. Now, did they do it on purpose or not? So college football has got to get their game in gear there, because if they had 12 seconds instead of 6 seconds, he slides down there with their timeout. They're kicking a 45-yard field goal. It's a huge difference.
So Dan Lanning, Oregon head coach, already said in the press conference, Brett, that was intentional. They had practiced that before.
Oh, he said it was intentional. Oh, I didn't catch that.
It was intentional. They meant to do that.
Well, and there was a lot of Ole Miss-wise, there was a lot of controversy and talk about guys, the faking injury thing.
Yep.
And then before the Ole Miss LSU game, Ole Miss said we're going to dial it down. They were doing it even more so last game. So
I thought that only happened to us when FIU started it, but now it's every time. I mean, I don't know what can they do to change these rules, because I think if a guy goes, he should be out. If you're in the last 2 minutes, you go down or whenever, you shouldn't come back for the whole series, I think.
Well, Nick Saban alluded to it on game day last week. He's like, it becomes difficult because he doesn't like it, he said, but how does the referee, because you got to literally make a bold call, like you're not hurt. And what if the guy really is? So it's tough. It's a tough
you just sit out the rest. You sit out the first through fourth down of that series. So whatever it is, if there's one series, it could be like, let's say it's first down, it stops for a second down. You got to stay until there's another first down.
Somebody
they
said
don't want being on the field a couple of plays.
Somebody said,
Go ahead, Mando.
No. Somebody said, dock your team a timeout. Well, what if your team has no more timeouts? So what do you do then?
Right. Exactly. And you risk another penalty on top of that. But we're almost on an hour and 10 minutes where we're close to wrapping up this episode, episode of the CanesWear Daily Podcast, only on FTSN. Before we get to the score predictions of this Louisville-Miami matchup, Brett, let the Cane fans that are tuned in know where they could get their Barkov jerseys, their Messi jerseys, their CanesWear jerseys. Where could they get these big-time players in South Florida's jerseys at?
Excellent point, Brad. And there's not too many places you can get. You're right. You can get Cam Ward. You can get Xavier Restrepo. You can get Mark Fletcher. You can get the blackout jersey, which is awesome. You can get the new tonal jersey, both 24s. You can even put Chris Johnson if you want, or Rick Barry if you want. But there's we've got those. Okay, you're right. We do have the Barkov, the Kachucks. We got the championship jerseys coming in soon too. We do have the Messi jersey. So we carry multiple teams in South Florida. If it's South Florida sports, if it's Canes, if it's Dolphins, we don't have Dolphin jerseys, by the way, but it's Canes. If it's Dolphins, if it's Panthers, if it's Inter Miami, even Heat or Marlins, CanesWear is your place to go. We just got so many cool stuff in. One show soon, we're going to have to all wear the same exact shirt besides CanesWear shirts. We have a brand new Digi Sebastian in that is awesome, this new orange one. Jeff said, you must really like the shirt. You got 580 of them. I said, I do like it. We just sold them out the first week. I said, that's a good thing we're undefeated. So, we got a new white Canes football shirt that is awesome because we don't get a lot of white shirts. This is awesome. We just got a bunch of shorts and just so much cool stuff. We got a ton of new hats. I wish I could show you. I got to figure out something to do, but so much cool stuff. Like you said, Panther season is heating up. The Panthers win tonight, Mondo? I know they were 2-2 in the second period.
I think they did.
I think they were up 4-2 the last time.
Yeah,
all right. That's even better because wins is everything. All right, we got the Heat season starting. The Dolphins, we'll talk. They're 2-3. I don't know what's going to happen with them. So, but we got all your South Florida stuff. We got a great staff at CanesWear. It's not just a store; it's an experience. Come in, enjoy, talk sports with the team, and it's great. If you haven't been to CanesWear, I think it's impossible because everyone's been to CanesWear. But if you haven't been to CanesWear, come on by or order online for us, CanesWear.com. You call somebody, you call us, you talk to us in the store. We're not some giant corporation that you're not going to know anyone that you'll never get it. So
I'll tell you this: as great as the deals are online, when you go on your web and you add to the car, as great as those deals are, when you get to step that foot in CanesWear store and experience the atmosphere and the family camaraderie, it's like working a 10 to 12 hour shift and just wanting that beer when you get at home. And as soon as you open that door and you see that beer cold, nice cold, it's like walking into CanesWear, man. There's nothing better than it. So please make sure you try to experience that. If you have any time of the day, any experience that you could get to a Miami Hurricane game or a Florida Panthers game or a Miami Dolphin game as well, make sure you stop at CanesWear.
Yeah, definitely. The Friday night of the VT game, me and the wife went. She had been to the older store, but not the newer one. We walked in and she's like, "Oh my God!" Like it was packed with people, and she was like, "This store looks badass. It looks amazing."
She's like, "Oh no,
no!" It was the new store. If you haven't been there, you definitely got to get down there and check it out. Everybody's always nice and very customer service A1. It's like great spot.
I appreciate it, guys. We're that way because we have such an amazing CanesWear family, both in store and out. That people come in, and we appreciate all of our CanesWear family. Brad, do we have a winner? Did Bobby? What?
Let's get to the scores, and you got a winner, right, Brett?
I don't have a winner. Bobby have a winner?
Uh-oh.
Did Bobby flash?
Bobby on the spot? You're putting Bobby on the spot. All right.
Bobby, I thought I said that before. Bobby.
So look, while we're
make the picks and I'll decide.
Let Bobby pick a
all right, Mando, give us the score. Listen, if you don't get it exactly, Mando, we're not going to be able to pay you for the next episode.
Don't worry, Hard Rock can pay me with some bets this weekend. How's that?
Let's check how the parlays are going. I'm still waiting for Ridley to score.
How about catch a pass?
By the way, listening to Mondo's comment on the Ridley thing, that lost me my parlay. By the way,
Mondo. It's okay, Mondo.
Did you see his post-game interview? Classic. Oh, you didn't see it, Brett?
I didn't see that. No.
You want to get me involved in the late half? How about the first half?
They asked him, I don't know if we can curse on here, but they asked him about the targets at the end of the game. He's like, "How about some effing targets in the beginning of the game?"
What about my Cowboy? What was it? Torta that had 43 out of 45 yards. He dropped that ball right in his hands.
And listen, fantasy football teams that are in a rut right now, if you got Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper, your season might have got revived right now.
Exactly.
I think, as great as it looks for Devontae Adams reuniting with Aaron Rodgers, Amari Cooper going from one of the worst teams in the division to one of the best teams in the NFL with Josh Allen, who has just been praying and waiting for a number one wide receiver. That's a good duo for Josh Allen.
He's cut out the turnovers. Finally, Josh Allen is him and Lamar Jackson. And even that kid from Washington, the rookie Daniels, they're playing MVP type football. Yeah, Josh Allen's really playing ball. He's playing really well. That's a hell of a pickup.
Absolutely.
They're dangerous.
So what's our score?
All right, I got it. I'm going to start here by saying we're not going to get to 40. We're going to be up late 30-27, and we're going to clinch it with a winning touchdown, 37-27 Miami.
37-27, playing the sevens, baby. Let's get that slot machine going.
There you go.
I'll let Brad go last. I'm going to go with my standard 38, okay? But I'm going to say 38-23, okay?
23.
23.
Ooh, man, he was missing
an extra point. Hopefully, it's not a safety in there. But 38-23, 15 points. I think we should cover this. I think this is a tough game, but I think once we get going, I think we're going to take it seriously. I think we're going to come out and we're going to hit them hard, fast. Fletcher for 150 yards, baby.
Oh, I know you want that.
Hey, so you started out with 38, and I was a little scared because I thought we were going with the same score because I had a score in mind. I'm going to go 38-31 Miami Hurricanes.
Ooh.
I think this will be a close game. I think it will be around the over-under. I believe the over-under for Hard Rock fans out there. I think it says 60.5, 61.
Is it really?
I think it's going to be floating around there. Do we cover the spread? We'll see. I believe it's at 3.5, 4 right now. But I got us at 38-31 Miami Hurricanes. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I think both defenses, Louisville and Miami, will have some ruts to get through. But at the end of the day, Cam Ward, Xavier Strepo, and company will take this team ahead and at least getting us ahead at least a touchdown. I like Miami winning this football game. 38-30.
Right, so we got 37, 27, 38-23, and 38-31. Jason says 38-24. So that 38 number, I don't know. If we can pick exact score, go right now, 38 or 37. What are the odds we can get on that, Mando? Please, can you book that for us all, Mando?
Well, we are
37 or 38 for the Canes.
I'll take 47, but I think it's going to be like last year they played Louisville. It was a back and forth game. It came down to the last minute, if I'm not mistaken, right?
We had our chances in that game.
And to Brad's point, those guys, the coach over there, former quarterback himself, that's a formidable offensive coach team over there. So it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a
line to get at it.
And coincidentally, folks, Bobby, our producer, has private chatted us the winner of tonight's $25 gift card.
Right.
And if you take out the L, which is what Louisville is going to get this weekend, we got a player on this roster by the name of Jacoby George.
Ooh.
And if you take out the L, folks, you get Jacoby. Jacoby Graggs will be winning tonight. $25
Congratulations to the Jacoby.
So Jacoby Graggs, you will be winning tonight's $25 gift card. So make sure you hit up either me or Brett on Twitter, through email, however else you could get us. Make sure you hit us up.
Give us your full name, Jacoby, which we got, but your name again and also your email, okay? And just send it to it, and we'll email you out a gift card either tonight or tomorrow. Just send that when you get a chance, either Canes_wear or what is it, Tejeda Brad?
At Tejeda Brad. There you go.
All right, guys. Any last comments? We miss Cliff, Uncle Cliff, guys. For all the ladies and the guys there that were looking to see Uncle Cliff, his
don't get him in trouble, Brett. Don't get him in trouble, Brett.
Don't get him in trouble. It's a married man here, for God's sake.
God. Don't get him in trouble now.
Surprised my wife didn't come out and look at me like, what the anyway. So for the fan club, like they used to have those teen magazines, the Tiger Beat and things, Cliff couldn't join us tonight. He's okay. And he's but he'll be here next week, we hope, and he'll be rooting on the Canes. So thank you to everybody for joining. We appreciate you. Go to CanesWear. Listen every single day of the week, pretty much. Brad Tejeda has the daily CanesWear daily podcast.
I've been catching that.
CanesWear really weekly podcast.
Really
Have you been watching that, Mando?
Yeah.
All right, Mando. All right, Brad, you got special guests coming on?
I sure do. Tomorrow night at 7:00 Eastern, we will be having my guy, Kevin of the Card Chronicle, that will be joining us. We'll be breaking down the Louisville-Miami matchup. He has been following Louisville football, basketball for about 20 plus years. Wow. He's a Louisville alum as well, so he is tied into the program. He knows all the ins and outs. So I can't wait to talk to him and chop it up tomorrow. Like I mentioned before, there are a lot of South Florida guys on this program for Louisville, about 10 plus guys that have either been playing in Dade or Broward County High School football. So I cannot wait to talk to him tomorrow night at 7:00 Eastern, only on the CanesWear Daily Podcast on FTSN.
There's Stephanie Gittleman smiling away. All righty, guys. Well, great job. Hopefully we can stop this team and get to 7-0, but we'll all be watching at 1 o'clock Central or 11 o'clock Central, 12 Eastern. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Go
everyone.
Canes, baby. Go Canes.